my name's Teresa Ohmart. I'm the sales and marketing director here at Terwilliger Plaza. And we have quite a group today. We have in our audience, we have some people who are just getting to know Terwilliger Plaza, some people who have been talking to us for several years, some people who've been to many events, including other Zooms, and then some people who are already deposited and are about ready to move in the next few months. So a really great group. So today we are going to talk about what makes Terwilliger Plaza unique. I can sit here and tell you we're unique, but we've invited a nice group of people, including some of our members, our executive team, and a few board members to share with you how we are different and how we're different from not only our fellow nonprofit communities here in the Portland area, but how we are different from for-profit communities. So you'll learn about that today and many other things about why we're unique. I'm sharing, I hope everybody can see that I'm sharing a picture, a drone photo of our community. This building here, if you can see that with my cursor, the kind of crooked building, that's our tower building. This building here is our terrace, our assisted living building. And then this building to the right with all the solar panels, actually 3 of the buildings have solar panels. That's our Heights building, which is independent living. By the way, Towers independent living, Heights is independent living, Terrace assisted living, and then our brand new pride and joy, if you will, is our Parkview building right here with this amazing sky bridge that connects Parkview to the rest of the community. So again, for those of you who aren't familiar, you can also see our proximity to the Dunaway track over here. And then as you go up this wonderful park up here, can't see it, but there's a beautiful lilac garden around the corner here, and then on up the hill to OHSU and the Markham Trail system. So wanted to just share that for those of you who are maybe from out of town or just learning about our particular location. With that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ryan Miller, our CEO, and he will share a few pieces of information about Terwilliger Plaza.
Good morning. I'm Ryan Miller, our President and CEO here at Terwilliger Plaza. Thanks for joining us today for this presentation about Terwilliger Plaza and some of the unique aspects of our community. I joined Terwilliger Plaza in 2022, and I plan to be here for a long time. I'm an Oregon native. This is where my wife's family and my family are, where we plan to raise our daughter. And just about all of my professional career has been here in the nonprofit continuing care retirement sector. I started here in Portland, and after getting my nursing home license, my organization transferred me to Napa, California, where I operated our healthcare side of the operation there for a number of years. And after a number of years at that organization, I got an opportunity to move to Seattle. And in joining that organization, I was able to lead their nonprofit CCRC in downtown Seattle for over 6 years, where I helped design, pre-sale, and construct and open our expansion project up there on the existing campus of the 26-story CCRC. And about 6 months after opening that expansion community, I was recruited here to Terwilliger Plaza to lead the Terwilliger operations and help complete our Parkview project. And Terwilliger Plaza couldn't be a better fit for me. I'm constantly reminded how much of an honor it is to be here as our president and CEO. A little bit about our history. We look to the beginning of Terwilliger Plaza as when Lesta Howell, a woman named Lesta Howell, had envisioned a place for retired teachers to retire to and received an initial loan from the Oregon Retired Teachers Association. We opened our tower building. We opened the doors in 1962. The tower had about 300 small apartments and very minimal services and amenities. A very stark, big difference from what we do today. But one thing it's had since the beginning here at Terwilliger Plaza is the amazing views. Terwilliger is known for its amazing views of the Cascades, of downtown Portland, looking over the Willamette River. And over the years at the Tower building, we've consolidated about 100 apartments, and the Tower building currently has about 199 apartments. In the mid 80s, we opened our small assisted living called the Metcalf. It's on the south end of the Tower, nestled in the woods along the hill. And in the year 2000, we opened our other assisted living building called the Terrace, and it has about 45 apartments, and that's also when we added our commercial kitchen and restaurant. In 2008, we opened our Heights building with 48 more independent living apartment homes. And those apartment homes had 2 and 3 bedroom apartments, again, with many stellar views. You'll hear that from time to time as I talk about our building. We also, with that one, we added a pool and fitness center to the community that all members of our community can use. One thing to note about Terwilliger Plaza is we refer to our residents here as members. So members of our community, if you hear me reference that, those are our resident members. And then this past December 2023, Parkview opened. And Parkview is an ultra energy efficient independent living building with a passive house technology. This organization, this community, this board committed to lessening our carbon footprint when designing and committing to building this expansion called Parkview. It's the largest passive house retirement community in the nation and the largest passive house building on the West Coast. Parkview is an important addition to our community. One that provided us with the additional scale for an even stronger long-term financial position. With all these options, Tower, Heights, and Parkview, comes a lot, something that I take a lot of pride in, and that is we have a varying sizes of apartments, but that also means that we have significantly difference in pricing for upfront and monthly costs, which means our community has a very broad economic diversity. And that's something that I'm just very proud of, having an organization that can have that economic diversity. Terwilliger Plaza is often referred to as a Portland landmark. Most people who've lived in Portland for decades know Terwilliger Plaza in some way. Some because they drive by it, or in many cases now, they drive under our new bridge, which has been described as the gateway to the south entrance of downtown Portland. And some people are familiar with Terwilliger Plaza because of a family member or a friend who's lived here at some point over the past 62 years that we've been in operation. And a fun fact, when I was exploring this opportunity and having dinner with my in-laws, I learned that my wife's great-grandmother lived here in the 60s for a few years. So I too have a personal connection, as it turns out. A point of pride here at Terwilliger Plaza is that we are a single site community. We are Terwilliger Plaza, and we plan to be Terwilliger Plaza indefinitely. We're not part of a corporation. We do not have sister communities. We are not part of any obligated group of any kind. We're completely independent, and every decision we make is to strongly position Terwilliger Plaza for our single site independent future. How we do ensure that we have the necessary expertise and support to remain a sophisticated organization is it's really important that we continue to recruit top talent for our leaders, and we surround ourselves with expert consultants. So we find leaders and experts who want to be a part of our unique community and carry our mission forward, not the other way around. With the opening of Parkview, we went from the 190th, roughly speaking, largest single site continuing care retirement community in the country, to now being the 90th largest single site CCRC in the country. Single site continuing care communities are much less common every year because our industry is experiencing consolidation. And to just preface again, the economies of scale with the addition of Parkview really help Terwilliger Plaza continue to have that strong, independent, single site future. Our executive team, as being a single site, this is a really great thing about our organization is that we're in-house. The entire executive team is in-house. Because we're a single site, that means our executives are on site every day, just like the rest of the team. We're not in a corporate office somewhere. And this is very typical for a single site CCRC. It is very atypical when it's a multi-site CCRC or even more, probably more rare in a for-profit retirement community setting. And I think, I really think our community feels that presence of the executive team, because each decision that we make as an executive team or as a board is made with the exposure of the day-to-day operations. We know the people, team members and resident members alike, and we too feel the impact of those decisions that we make. We also get to make meaningful relationships with the team members and the resident members, which is important to culture. Culture here at Terwilliger Plaza is a combination of team members, resident members, and executives who are all on site and all a part of that. We continue to explore how to strategically grow our campus, services and amenities. And with just having grown with Parkview, as I said before, every decision we make is to strongly position us for a strong future. And we're on a path, and we have a very, very strong history of investing in our community and our leadership to ensure that we're well positioned for that, for current demands as well as future demands. And I've taken up enough of your time now. And with that, I'd like to introduce Kay Moran, a member of our community for the past 6 years and the current chair of our board of directors. She's a true example of our representative self-governance board structure. Kay, turn it over to you.
Terwilliger Plaza is the only nonprofit, single-site, self-governed, continuous care retirement community in the United States. That means nobody owns us. All the major decisions are made right here by a board of directors that's elected by our residents. Self-government means 6 directors, a majority of our board, must be people who live here, and the board chair is one of them. The remaining 5 directors come from the larger Portland community. Many CCRCs have a resident council where residents bring up issues and talk to the administration. We have one of those too, and the chair of the resident council sits on our board as a non-voting member. Many CCRCs are run by larger corporations. For instance, in Portland, Mirabella Portland and Holiday Park Plaza are part of the nonprofit Pacific Retirement Services, which has many other sites. Most CCRCs follow that model, including some that are run by for-profit companies. There are a couple of those in Portland too. For Terwilliger Plaza, if somehow a large corporation wants to take us over or we want to merge with another corporation, that would have to be voted on by our residents, by the members who live here. Other single-site communities locally are Rose Villa in Southeast Portland and Rose Villa's neighbor, Willamette View. Each of those is governed by an 8-member board of directors, local. However, 1 or 2 of those 8 on the board are residents and the rest are not. All governance, financial, and operational decisions are made right here by our administration and the board of directors. Members at large do not make those decisions, but they do decide who will make them by electing the board. Excuse me. The board hires and oversees the chief executive officer. This is a big deal because the CEO is responsible for running the place. A lot of thought, effort, and discussion 2 years ago went into choosing our new CEO after our former CEO announced his plan to retire, and we hired Ryan. The board meets monthly, hears reports on operations and reviews and approves budgets and major spending decisions. At last week's meeting, we heard from representatives of the financial management firm handling our investments. This week, a board committee signed off on next year's benefit plan for our employees. The corporation's bylaws and policies are set by the board. Staff works hard to develop a budget to cover expenses and services that members expect in the coming year. They present that to the Finance Committee, which makes a recommendation to the board. Then, and this is the tough part, we vote on whatever the increase in monthly fees will have to be to cover the budget. We on the board live here, at least 6 of us do, and our fees will increase too. And you can believe we will hear about it from the other members. We have to try to explain it to them. And once the minutes from our meetings of the board or of the Finance Committee are approved, they are made available to all members to read. I mentioned the resident council. It has 13 voting representatives drawn from specific residential areas and 4 officers drawn from and elected by Terwilliger residents. Though the resident council doesn't have authority to act on behalf of the plaza, as the board does, it provides a forum to present any concerns, problems, or suggestions to the board or the administration. And next, I would introduce our Chief Financial Officer, Judy O'Donnell.
Thanks, Kay. I'm Judy O'Donnell. I am the CFO. I am a CPA, just celebrated my 40th year of being a CPA in the state of Oregon. It's kind of crazy. Been here 8 years. I'm going to talk very briefly. I hope if I can keep it limited, because if you want information about the financials and understanding where your fees go when you join a CCRC, we have all kinds of information for you. Today, I'm going to talk about the fact that we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. That means IRS allows us to not pay taxes and has recognized us as providing benefits for the public good. In our case, the public good is providing services and housing to seniors. That's the main organization, Terwilliger Plaza, Inc. We also have 2 other 501c3s that are called supporting organizations. They only exist to provide funding and resources to Terwilliger Plaza. The first is named after our founder that Ryan talked about earlier, Lesta Howell. A trust fund exists under her name to provide resources to members who might outlive their resources. Part of the qualification of joining a CCRC is we look at your assets, we look at your income, and we estimate life expectancies. Some people, most people in CCRCs actually live longer than typical life expectancy tables. And it can happen that someone runs out of assets. We have this supporting trust. It has over $5 million in it to help support people who are members of our organization so they do not have to move out just because they run out of assets. The second supporting organization is the foundation, and it also is a 501c3. It has some endowed funds specific for certain activities or programs that we have here at Terwilliger. So one is a music fund, and that's endowed. And so every year, some of those funds from their investments are used to fund the continuing music program we have every Friday night here at Terwilliger Plaza. There are lots of other funds, many of them educational based, to help support our staff in their continuing education. So the foundation has a little over $8 million of resources available in it. Almost $6 million of that is in restricted funds. That means they can only be used for specific purposes. And about a little over $2 million is unrestricted. So the foundation board is separate from the Terwilliger Plaza operating board, and they make decisions on how they want to support us financially. One of the things that Dick is going to talk about more in a second, he's the head of our finance committee, is the transparency of our financial statements. We go through an independent financial audit. It's consolidated for all 3 of the entities. We do that every year, and it is available to our members and to prospective members upon request. We've had clean audit reports for many years, every year, basically. And then part of the thing that our outside auditors do is they review my calculations of the tax benefits that are available to CCRCs. And the way that works, both IRS and the tax courts have recognized that there are tax benefits every single month. When you're independent, you're paying into the activities of the CCRC, and some of those funds are being used to help people who are already in healthcare. So even though you're in great health and you're living in independent living, a percentage of your monthly membership fees and your fee to become a member are deductible as medical expenses on your individual tax return. It's a pretty big benefit to a lot of people. Every year, the percentage is a little bit different because it's a strict ratio of our actual spending on healthcare activities as opposed to all of the other activities and expenses that we incur every year. I'm expecting this year to be less than it's been in the past. I'm expecting it to be in the 25 to 28% of both your monthly fees and your membership fees will be tax deductible. So it's a pretty great benefit. I'm going to hand this over to Dick Teutsch. He is the head of our finance committee and somebody I work very closely with. Dick moved in almost 2 years ago to our Heights building and then transitioned as soon as he was able into the new Parkview building. Dick, it's all yours.
Thank you, Judy. So I'll talk with all of you a little bit about our finance committee today. It's a board-appointed committee. The requirement is there be 3 to 9 members. Right now, we have 9 members. And a theme here that you're seeing start to emerge is that 7 of the 9 members on the finance committee are resident members of Terwilliger. We live here. And I was surprised to see how much involvement and what the role of this resident, primarily resident finance committee plays. The responsibilities include meeting monthly, usually about 3 days before the monthly board meeting, where we go over with Judy and her accounting department the financial statements. We review them, ask questions, compare the results to the budgeted expected results. We talk about the variances, the whys and the wherefores. And then the chair of the committee at the board meeting 3 or 4 days later presents a report and talks about the results of that review, what was noted and discussed, and what might or has impacted our finances for the year to date, primarily. Other responsibilities the committee have, it actually functions as an audit committee. So we have responsibility of oversight over the accounting, internal controls and policies, the code of conduct policy, just to ensure that everything appears from our perspective to be going forward as it should. The committee also plays a key role in oversight on the investments. Judy just talked about those. Terwilliger Plaza has about a $30 million reserve fund that's there for contingencies, possible future needs. The Lesta Oil Trust is also part of our purview on the finance committee. So we meet with the Independent Investment Advisory Committee, review portfolio performance, the adherence to our written investment policies and strategies and so forth. So that's an important role that we play. Included in the other responsibilities is playing a role in the budget process. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But first of all, I just take a couple minutes here and talk about my personal experience on the committee. As Judy said, my wife and I lived here 2 years, and about 18 months ago, I was asked to join the finance committee. My work background includes 20 years working as a CPA. Judy describes herself as a CPA. I tell people I am a recovering CPA, and I'm doing pretty well with that after all those many years. So since my CPA days, I worked 30 plus years in finance and as an investment manager in an investment advisory firm where I still work part-time today. So when I was asked to join the committee, I was pleased, and I saw it as an opportunity maybe to give back something to my community based on my experience. Maybe I could help a little bit. But it was also important to me to get my own ability to assess and form an opinion about the financial stability of Terwilliger. And I'm very happy to say that I was quickly convinced that Terwilliger is very strong financially. And I've had an opportunity to work with this executive team, Ryan and Andie and Judy and the rest of the team. And I also became quickly convinced that we had hired a great set of people over time here at Terwilliger to manage our affairs. We all know, as we have moved, or you are anticipating moving into a CCRC, we have to write a significant check to do that. In contrast to all of our previous housing investments, we don't get a deed. We really don't have anything that we customarily have had in the past. But what we do have is a promise by this CCRC, Terwilliger in this instance, that they'll take care of us for the rest of our lives. And that's nice, but of course it depends on the financial strength and stability and the likelihood that that organization is going to continue to be able to honor that obligation. So I can sit here and tell you, yes, I've taken a look, I'm convinced. I'd like to quickly point to a couple of other ways that you can be assured that Terwilliger is on solid financial ground beyond just my saying so. One is the audit that Judy referred to. So Terwilliger hires an independent CPA firm to audit the books each year. And that firm, in addition to stating that in their opinion, our financial statements, the results of operations are correct and accurate, fairly present our situation, they also do a set of cash flow projections where they take an independent look from their point of view at our expected future revenues, our expected future expenses, and they say that in their opinion, they believe we will be able to meet all those financial obligations and not fall short in any way. Terwilliger also hires another independent firm, an actuarial firm. They come in and, employing actuarial science, do a similar thing to what the CPAs do. They look at our individual life expectancies. They know how long each of us as members are expected to live. And they project, what are we going to be paying into the system? What is it going to cost to take care of us? And go well beyond that, look at the discounted present value of future cash flows and state that in their opinion, Terwilliger is also very financially strong. And then finally, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the budgeting process that's been alluded to and the role that this finance committee, 7 of 9 members live here, plays in that process. So the budgeting really began several weeks ago, and the department heads began to work on what it would take sort of at the nitty-gritty level to make their operation in their department effective and efficient, and projected what their expenses would be. That went to their supervisors and on up the chain of command, where over time, it gets to the executive team, Ryan, Andie, Judy, and others go over that, and the finance committee then gets involved at our September meeting near the end of September. At that point, then we work with Ryan and Andie and Judy, and what emerges from that whole process is what the expenses are to operate across our campus, in this case for 2025. And it's important to note from a budget standpoint that the last line filled in on that budget is what does it take for each of us as members here to pay in monthly fees to cover those expenses. We also like to budget a small surplus, excuse me, so that we can add a little bit to those invested reserve funds that you heard mentioned before. But Filling in those fees then is to cover expenses and a bit of a surplus. If we were owned by an investor, a for-profit company, then it would be expected that we would add an increment to those fees to provide a return to the owner on that investment. That's often 15% or more. Because we are not owned by anyone, we don't have to do that. So I think as you think through this process with us, you can see that in this picture, there is no they involved. It really is just us. It is us that live here and work here on site to manage Terwilliger. Each member of the board and the finance committee has a fiduciary level of responsibility to do our very best to ensure that Terwilliger will meet the needs of current members and future. One of the things we hear frequently is a member, one of our neighbors, came here because a parent or loved one lived here before them. That gave them an opportunity to see what it was like here and caused them to want to come here themselves when the time was right. So you can see that it's just us. We have this great history, kind of a built-in referral system, if you will. And we're all dedicated to make sure that that keeps working into the future. So thank you. I'll sign off now and introduce Andie Fitzgerald, our COO, and part of that executive team I mentioned that I've really enjoyed getting to know and working with this past 18 months. Andie?
Well, thanks, Dick. And wow, I think everything you said, that was just really well spoken. So as Dick mentioned, I'm Andie Fitzgerald. I'm delighted to be serving as Terwilliger Plaza's Chief Operating Officer. And today I'm just going to highlight a few of our significant accreditations and how those impact membership life here. The first one I want to talk about is CARF. So CARF stands for the Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. Try saying that 3 times. And they're an independent nonprofit accreditor for industries like aging services, behavioral health, rehabs, and many other things. CARF has been around for 55 years and is wildly well known in the CCRC industry. And being so well known, CARF actually has around 8,000 members and 27,000 locations worldwide. So it's quite large. So understanding how big CARF is, it's important to share that Terwilliger Plaza is only one of 2 CCRCs in Oregon that have this unique certification. As you can imagine, we're quite proud of this coveted award. And we've been accredited since 1997. That's actually 27 years of proving that we provide this exceptional care and operational oversight here. So to achieve this certification, we are measured on 1,200 different areas. And so this can range from accounting policies to employee onboarding requirements, all the way to fire and life safety systems. To put how detailed these requirements are in perspective, when I first started here at Terwilliger about 1.5 years ago, I decided to go on my own and print a workbook that guides the survey. And our poor printer is all I can say, because that was 383 pages long, and I'm sure I made a great impression by jamming the printer on my first week of employment here. Another accreditation that I'm really proud to share is our Sage Care Platinum certification. By a show of hands, is anybody here familiar with what Sage Care Platinum certification is? Oh, okay. So a few of you, that's great. So Sage Care is a division of SAGE, which stands for Services and Advocacy for LGBTQ+ Seniors. SAGE itself is the country's oldest and largest organization dedicated to improving the lives of our LGBTQ+ seniors. So Sage Care being a division of that. Sage Care is the comprehensive LGBTQ+ training program, which was designed to equip staff with knowledge on how to provide services to modern LGBTQ+ older adults. And we're excited to share that we just achieved our platinum certification in June of this year. So in order to have achieved that certification, our entire team here participated in a very thorough LGBTQ+ competency trainings. Some of those things that we talked about / learned in the training included the unique history of the LGBTQ plus older adult community, how we as Terwilliger Plaza can create a welcoming environment here, and also how we can combat some of the fears that LGBTQ plus individuals may have in coming to community settings such as our own. We then hosted an even more concentrated 4-hour leadership training for 30 of our management team members. And their participation in that extended training was critical because it allows us to continue to foster that atmosphere of inclusivity amongst their own direct reports. I can confidently say that our team members love this training. They often still come up to me and talk about how proud they are to work for an organization that invests in education, but not only education, but education that promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion. And certifications like this one go hand in hand with our culture here at Terwilliger Plaza, which truly is one that celebrates and embraces diversity, not only amongst the team members, but amongst the membership as well. And just one last thing, since many have spoken about the for-profit and not for-profit differences, I personally have a bit of a unique perspective, as I've spent my entire career up until joining Terwilliger Plaza a 1.5 years ago in the for-profit senior living industry. And I also have had family members that have lived in the for-profit sector. And all I can say is I wish I had found the not-for-profit sector sooner. I likely wouldn't have as much gray hair as I do now. And, joking aside, I think what everyone said here is really spot on. I know I personally can sleep really well at night knowing that our main goal here at the plaza is, at the end of the day, we want to cultivate a community that celebrates life in all of its stages and also takes those assets and reinvest them back into bettering the campus and the membership as a whole. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our very own Nancy Smith, who is one of our first Parkview members.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to concentrate on one aspect of why I chose to live here at Terwilliger, which is a popular aspect for anybody who's considering a major lifestyle move, as I did. And that topic is food, one of my favorite topics to talk about. An interesting thing happened to me this morning, actually. I was on my way to the dining room with a beautiful silver tray that had been delivered to me last evening, filled with probably 4 dozen deviled eggs. I had some people over, some friends in, and for a little cocktail party, and I made some hors d'oeuvres. And Eric, the chef, is apparently known for his deviled eggs. Word has it that when he interviewed for the job here, that was one of the items that he brought to the tasting party, I guess. And I can attest to the deliciousness of those deviled eggs, and I have some leftovers in the refrigerator that I'll have for my lunch today. But when I was on my way to the dining room carrying this clean tray to take back to them, I ran into the dining room manager, Ron, who was in the Sky Lounge. And he said, "Oh, are you taking that tray? I'll do that for you." And so we had a chat about the dining service here. And I told him how I continue to be impressed with it. And the fact that there is no mandatory food plan at Terwilliger was one of the primary reasons. There were others, of course, but no mandatory food plan was one of the primary reasons that I chose to live here. I enjoy food. I still enjoy cooking food for myself and sharing it with other people. But there are times when I don't feel like cooking. And a couple of nights ago, whatever the special dinner was for the evening, I believe it was it was a cod Florentine. And so I ordered some of that delivered, and Brooke brought it to, or one of the women who works in the dining room brought it to my door on a little tray with on wheels, and it had a white tablecloth on it, and she brought it in. It was beautifully plated, sprinkled with fresh cilantro and parsley, and the next morning I took the dish back. I washed it, of course, but I took the dish back, and I had this delicious dinner. Also recently, I hosted in the private dining room an 85th birthday party for a friend. We started with cocktails in the Sky Lounge, which was elegant, and the chef, whose name is Eric, who happened to have trained partly in Paris, by the way. So he's he's really elevated the food level here, and people rave about it, including me. And so Chef Eric and I planned this wonderful menu for my friend who celebrated his 85th birthday party in the private dining room. So I continue to really enjoy living here. And that's one of many, many aspects. My day this morning started with a 1.5 mile walk on the track, actually. I walked out the door and it was a beautiful, cool morning and did my 1.5 miles on the track and came back and started my day. So that's my main offering and what I would like to offer to others as an option to look at.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Well,
Katrina is our next guest. Katrina is our Director of Community Social Services.
Hi, thanks, Teresa. As she mentioned, my name is Katrina, and I'm run the Director of Community Social Services Department. I wanted to speak a little bit to the emphasis that Terwilliger puts on independence at our community. So big cultivation around maintaining that as long as possible. We have what's called a psychosocial support team here at the Plaza, which is comprised of multiple team members that have discussions throughout the month of how we can better support the members that reside here in the community. And I wanted to speak to a couple of additional resources that we have here at the Plaza, things like in-home support, consonas, or additional outside resources like grocery delivery support. There's often a question that I hear that is, how long can I continue to live in my independent living apartment as I age? And I think there's a fear there that members will need to or feel obligated to make a transition into assisted living when they're encountering changing needs, which is not the case. While there are circumstances that would warrant a conversation about a potential transition, if we were concerned with overall safety or quality of life, that would happen then. But we often encounter members who are experiencing maybe mild cognitive impairment or have some physical limitations or changes that can be highly successfully managed without needing to transition to a higher level of care. One of those is our Ally in-home service. So we have a program here that's built to meet the needs of members at varying levels. It focuses a lot on energy preservation, so taking care of those smaller projects or tasks so that members have the energy and time to engage in things that they enjoy or find purpose in, an opportunity for socialization, or assistance with some activities of daily living like showers, dressing, or some medication management. And these visits can consist of a variety of different tasks. So it's really built into what the member specifically needs, which is fantastic. Some of that maybe is some light housekeeping, maybe some meal preparation for the week. And again, as I mentioned, some medication management is also possible through Ally. Partnered with Ally, we have the Plaza Health Clinic. And the health clinic offers services staffed by our RN Monday through Friday. It's a very convenient place for members to go down and get some medical services provided to them. So you can go down and have your vitals checked, receiving healthcare advice, or having help with some things like bandage changes or ear lavage or things like that. Oftentimes these services come at a lower rate than a copay would be at a primary care service. And it's nice because they don't have to leave the community. The health clinic also offers COVID boosters and flu shots that are needed throughout the year as we update those, and those are available to members on site. My department focuses primarily on the well-being of members by providing different resources based on independent needs. So this could vary from someone returning to the community from a skilled facility or from an injury and reintegrating into cultivating a daily routine. End of life planning, memory support conversations, physical changes, or maybe someone who's experienced the loss of a spouse or a close friend. I do host a variety of support groups on campus, and our efforts are that these ebb and flow to reflect the varying needs of the community as our population changes. When a member is ready to transition to a higher level of care, my department is the one that coordinates that process with the member and their family and support that's necessary along the way. We sort of look at what that looks like for that person as we're navigating that. I also tag team with the marketing department for any of the admissions that come directly into assisted living from the outside community if it's not the internal transition process. In our assisted living setting, we do have 2 different higher care areas, and we do have the privilege of having nurses on site 24/7, which is fantastic. So they're here able to respond to our members at any time. This also allows us to provide care to members who may be of higher acuity, who normally might not be suitable for an assisted living setting. For instance, there may be people who require a 2-person transfer or someone who might be utilizing a Hoyer lift or other medical needs. We also have Kinsanas Rehab, which is a physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech language pathology on site, which is a huge benefit for members to access. So we often see physical therapy supporting a member, maybe after they've experienced a fall or have experienced an injury. Someone may have recently returned to the community from a rehabilitation site and wanted to focus on endurance or working back towards their previous baseline. Occupational therapy has been a pretty common referral utilized in assisting people living with cognitive decline at the plaza. Oftentimes, if we're tweaking a pre-existing routine in their independent living apartment to include more visual cues, safety awareness, or just daily tools to remain as independent as possible, we have seen the ability for members to maintain their life and day-to-day activities in their independent living apartments much longer than they would have expected to. Speaking to cognitive impairment, so my background over the last 10 years has been in primarily Alzheimer's special care centers and in secured environments. I do host a wonderful group each week called Exploring Cognitive Impairment. And this group is about 15 to 17 members who may be experiencing varying stages of different types of dementia, maybe someone who knows of or is supporting someone living with the disease, or people who just want a better sense of advocacy through education and support. Dementia is not a bad word in our community, and breaking down these inhibitions to discuss that topic has been our first step in promoting inclusivity here at the Plaza in both independent living and assisted living. It's a very common experience that we face in the aging community, and the more comfortable we are with discussing it, the more fear we can relinquish as a whole throughout the entire experience. When it comes to memory support at Terwilliger, we have a pretty dynamic approach. So we don't have the need to rely on having secure doors to maintain a fruitful and safe experience for our members living with cognitive impairment. We work really closely with our members and their families to provide our staff with an in-depth understanding of who they are in a holistic setting. So who are they as people? What is important to them? What are their values? What have they done through the course of their life? But we also want to focus on what fears and traumas and negative interactions they've experienced so we can do our best to inhibit the experience of those and increase the experience of the others. We also really want to lean into what they're still successful doing in their own. And this helps us provide equal opportunity for them to be successful. Our initiative in responding to expressions that we commonly see in dementia care as a form of communication or an unmet need. So oftentimes it's someone just trying to identify something that they require. So when we take the time to try to understand that from a more intimate perspective, we're seeing really great success in our ability to redirect, to integrate them into proper social environments, and just sort of an overall well-being of our members who are living through those circumstances. When we are confronted with these expressions, our response is multifold. So we work on communication, whether that be with that independent member or our staff team. We try different social outlets. We try to identify, are there any overstimulating activities or possibly implementing medication management if that's where we are in that process. And we're very intentional over including the members' healthcare providers and family members in these conversations in order to create that collaborative team effort. We do find value in remembering that people who are here living with cognitive impairment aren't giving someone a hard time, they're having a hard time. And while our campus isn't memory care focused specifically or a secured environment, I do think that we have a wonderful approach to managing cognitive changes that members may be experiencing during the aging continuum. Something that we're really working towards Our goal as a community are creating additional opportunities for education for staff, for them to feel empowered and educated on approach and overall dementia education, and for our members to have a sense of comfort as they're aging throughout their continuum, that we have the proper resources and support as they make that transition as well. I think that's it for me, Teresa.
Thank you very much, Katrina. It's great. Thank you so much again for joining us, and please reach out to us. We're happy to have you come in for a personal tour. And thank you for all of our speakers who joined us today.